Hi, I'm George Duke, and this is the Roland V piano. Well, you know what actually brought me into the idea of playing music, creating music, playing the piano was my mom used to take me to all kinds of concerts. She'd take me to see ballet, she'd take me to see orchestral concerts, jazz concerts, R&B, whatever, anything of a cultural nature, she would take me to be exposed to. So one day, she took me to see Duke Ellington. And he was doing something with his fingers. And I was 4.5 years old or so. I didn't know what he was doing. All I know is I heard the sound come out, and he was doing something with his fingers, and I later found out that he was playing the piano. Well, and then every now and then he'd wave his hands, and I thought he was waving at somebody. But something happened in the music, and I found out later on he was conducting. And his name was Duke. So I said, you know what, I want to be that guy. I thought he was a relative. But Mom said no, and so that drew me into the music. I didn't understand what he was doing or what was happening, but it made people smile. I felt good. The rhythms made me, want to move. And so I said, I want to do. That's me for the rest of my life. At 4.5 years old. When I was an undergraduate at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, I won't say what year that was. That was a long time ago. And I was actually a teenager. I started school there when I was around 17, 18 years old. And I had this gig at a local club called the Both And Club. And Al Jarreau used to come by every Sunday and sing. And so eventually the club owner said, well, why don't you guys form a group? You mind him coming to sing with you on the weekend? I said, no, Al is great. And we developed a friendship out of that. And we worked at this place for like 2.5, 3 years, all the time that I was an undergraduate at school. And that really solidified kind of my whole musical training. Al and I, neither one of us knowing we could make a living out of doing this. He was a psychologist. I was an undergraduate at school. And my mom saying, get a teaching credential. You don't know if this music thing is going to work. But all these years later, we're still here, and Al and I are still making records. We're still touring. And that's where it started. Currently, I have a band that changes sizes depending on the money. Sometimes I like to do some quartet kind of gigs with just a rhythm section, piano, bass, drums, and guitar, where I go out and gives me a chance to get my chops going and play smaller venues where I can really play and dig a little deeper into my library of songs. The dates that pay, generally a larger band where I take a couple of singers and maybe another keyboard player or something like that. And also I'm still doing a lot of production, mostly with artists from out of the country now. I've just finished working with a young artist from Cameroon, and I worked with a young singer named Ledisi. We did some work, and still working with my old friends like Jeffrey Osborne and Howard Hewitt. So been keeping pretty busy and doing a lot more touring now than I have in the past 10 years. Well, there's several advantages. First of all, the size of it, if you're on a small stage, makes it, that's a pretty obvious advantage, in terms of the size. The other thing is this thing really sounds good. I mean, the most important thing to me, more than the size, is that it's got to feel like a piano. So the advantage of this is that you've got a piano, the feel of a real piano in a small box. And that's the bottom line. The way it feels, the way it sounds is very flexible. I think that from what I understand, it adjusts to your touch. I don't know how it does that because I'm just a piano player. I don't do that thing. But, in playing it a few minutes ago, it seems like it kind of adjusted to the way I played, which is kind of interesting because I don't think a real piano can do that. But the other advantage is on the road. When you're dealing with a real piano, you never know about the tuning. You can have it tuned before sound check, and then you have to have it retuned, after the sound check, before the show, and it's all chances are that it's going to go out of tune sometime during the show. That's not really something that you have to worry about. Sometimes as a pianist, you'll sit down at a piano and you don't want to play it. I mean, you play it because it's there and you have to play it because you say, well, that's what I need. I need an acoustic piano, and you go ahead and play it. Then there are other pianos you can sit down and play, and all of a sudden you kind of relax and say, okay, this is an instrument. I can play this. This is a real instrument, And you kind of relax and you move into another zone of creativity that you can't move into with a piano that's just fighting you or that doesn't quite sound right because you can't play it because it doesn't feel like a real piano. This piano, you actually can play. And so one thing I noticed about it didn't take long for me to start playing this piano when I realized that, okay, I'm playing an instrument. And I could really sit down and let my mind begin to do other things. Whether I'm playing softly, I can let the creative juices flow as I'm worrying about tuning, feel, or anything else. And then if I decide to get meaty, it's got that too. So that's what's so good about it, is that it's got the balls and it's got the beauty. So in other words, it's Beauty and the Beast. The first piano in here that you'll find, preset 1, is what we'll call the American piano. We call the vintage piano 1 here. And it's set, well, here, I'll just play it. One great thing about it is the dynamics, is that I feel like I'm not limited. If I play this, I feel like what I put in, I'm getting back. And that's really important for a pianist. If you're not a pianist, it probably doesn't make as much difference. But if you're a piano player, the dynamics of it are important. You want to go from the softest soft and be able to express yourself melodically so it feels like the piano is responding to what you put in it. And that's the most important thing. Whether you're playing up high or whether you're playing low. And then, of course, all the middle pedals work too. It's just like, just like a real piano. Okay, check this out. There's a piano here called a honky-tonk piano. Now, for you guys that like to play some, rag, I can't really play rag. That's not what I do. But, it's got that kind of thing on. There's a couple of pianos in here that have that kind of vibe. And if you really need that in your show, you don't need to bring in an old beat-up upright. You can just play it right on this thing. Well, as usually, that's not what I really do. But you can do that. And you guys that can play it, you can learn how to play it right on there.